Happy, what's today? Tuesday. All right. Oh, wait, hold on. I can't see her. There we go. That's better. Now we can see you. You want to start? You don't.
So today, this week in reading, we are going to be talking about perspectives. Your perspective, the author's perspective. There's lots of different perspectives that you could be reading about, writing about, even just during your daily conversations. You could have different perspectives.
As we're starting our reading strategies, as we're starting our next unit, we're going to be talking about injustices in the world. We're getting ready to start World War II, and you'll see how groups of people were treated unfairly. And as we read, you want to look at that. You're looking at, like Ms. Brown said, you're looking at the perspective. What's the perspective of the author? We're also looking at what position you hold. When you read a book, do you become angry and go, wow, that's not fair? Or are you like, yeah, that's totally fine?
Kind of like your opinion.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And what kind of power, who's in power? We have a guest appearance. Say hello.
Hi.
No, you got to come over.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Like, for real, we're recording.
Miss Fredericks.
Hello.
See? All right. So, example, really quickly to explain the strategy. This is Elizabeth Leads the Way. It's about Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who was very active in getting women the vote, which is called, you know this word.
What is it?
Suffrage. Anyway, all right, so if you look at it from perspective, look at the title. It says Elizabeth Leads the Way. Oh, no, wait, sorry, that was position. Perspective. Is this told from Elizabeth's perspective? Is it told somebody watching Elizabeth do her work? Is it told from someone who remembered it happening or was alongside her? Was it a daughter? Was it a son? So that's what you're looking for with perspective. Who's actually telling the story? Because that's going to change. And we talked about this before with our memoirs. If I'm telling a story and Miss Brown's telling a story, we're going to have two different perspectives. Mm-hmm. I'm a little old lady and she's not. So we're going to have very different perspectives. All right.
Power.
Do power.
All right. So now we're going to be talking about power. So you think about this book again. We talked about suffrage. Well, who had control over these women not being able to vote? Well,
who had the power?
The government had the power at this time. So you have to think about who is in power, who has the power. And a lot of times, like a king or a queen or a president, they have lots of power and they can kind of have a different perspective than maybe the people underneath them. So the people underneath them, like us, might have a certain position and feel a different way about what they're trying to do.
And as we get into this, you want to think about, what does that power make you think about the topic? When we start talking about, for instance, the Holocaust, Hitler had the power over the Jews. What does that make you think about what he's doing? Was he being fair? Was he being a just ruler? Was he being evil? Was he, how are his actions? Who's in power? The government was in power when we were talking about suffrage. So what does that make you think about women having the right to vote? And one of the issues, just to sort of give you an example, is women, were participating in our country and they were working and they were paying taxes and all these things, but they weren't allowed to vote.
They wanted a voice.
Right. So what is it? You got to think about who's in power and what does that make you think about the topic? Finally, with the position, you start thinking about, where do you stand on this issue? What does the book make you think about it? When you read it, are you like, wow, those women should have never gotten the right to vote because that was ridiculous? Or do you think, wow, that was totally right, that it was unfair of women not to have the vote? You might read a story. We have a book that we're getting ready to read with World War II. And it kind of really, I cannot wait to read The Boy in the Striped Pajamas because the perspective is completely different. And the position that you're put in, it's really interesting, just the position, what your position becomes as you read this book.
Yeah, because your position can change. Your opinion can change throughout people telling you different bits and pieces of it. Maybe one day you're totally inside the box and maybe the next day you're like, I don't know about that. Maybe I'm actually more outside of the box.
Exactly. And this book makes you think about things in a different way. So the three things you want to remember when you're reading these books: who's telling the story? Whose perspective is it from? Who are the people in power, and what's your position about these issues? Mm-hmm. When you read that, you sort of get in the mind of what's going on, and you can think about it a little bit more deeply so that you can start to really put yourself in these positions. and be able to understand more what people are going through, what they're thinking, what they're learning, and these lessons that they're getting out of life. And you can admire people like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who, huge activist. And now if you're a girl, you can vote, largely due to her as well as other women. I cannot speak. Go ahead.
Well, I think that, and also remember to explain. So don't just say, yeah, well, I agree. I'm glad that we're able to vote now as a woman. I have a voice. Tell me why you agree with that position or why you don't agree with that position. That's also something to remember too.
Right. And this is our reading strategy. So when we're reading, if you find something that you're reading that really speaks to you like that, you can always talk to a friend, talk to a teacher and say, I was reading this book and I really thought I was against this subject, but I started reading about this little girl and she thought this, and she really kind of convinced me. It completely changed my mind. And those are the things that you want to get into so that you can really get deeper into your book and really understand what's going on a lot more. So, but we'll also talk about this in reading groups. So until then, it wasn't very funny. We didn't tell any jokes today. Sorry.
Well, we'll get better.
Yeah. We usually tell good jokes. So. Yeah. All right. Say goodbye, Miss Frederickson.
Bye. Hope you learned something today.
All right.
Thanks for watching the Miss Harper and
Miss Brown show. I didn't push stop. I'm like a little old lady. How's the cell phone stop? All right. Bye.